All right, let's just jump right in. We've all been there, right? An awesome new IT project kicks off, everyone's excited, the promises are huge. But then, somewhere along the way, things just start to unravel. It feels like you're trying to tame a wild beast. So, how do you actually get control? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down.
I mean, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? You start with this perfectly clear goal, but pretty soon you're drowning in delays, the costs are spiraling, and the thing you end up with, it's not quite what you originally imagined. It's such a common story. But you know what? It doesn't have to be the only story.
And this is where IT project management swoops in to save the day. Look, it's not just about boring spreadsheets and endless meetings. Think of it as a real discipline. It's the structured approach that brings order to all that chaos, giving us the tools and, more importantly, the philosophies to steer that project beast exactly where we want it to go.
Okay, so Section 1, Taming Project Chaos. Let's get into how we can start doing that. It all begins by understanding the big, fundamental choices you have to make right at the start. And it really does boil down to this. Before you even think about picking a tool or assigning a single task, you've got to decide on your core approach. You know, it's like choosing your entire strategy before you even step onto the battlefield. So first up, we've got the classic, the waterfall approach. I want you to picture an architect designing a massive skyscraper. They need a perfect, incredibly detailed blueprint before a single brick can be laid, right? You can't get halfway up and suddenly decide, you know what this thing means? A basement. That, in a nutshell, is the essence of waterfall.
The whole structure is defined by its rigidity. It's step by step. You complete one phase, say, gathering all the requirements, then you move to the next, like design. And here's the key. You don't go back. Everything is planned out in excruciating detail from the very beginning, and that scope is locked in tight. In this world, change is the enemy. And this is exactly where waterfall absolutely shines. If you know with 100% certainty what you need to build, and those needs aren't going to change, it is a powerful and super predictable way to get things done. It's just like building that bridge. You just follow the plan, step by step, until you get to the other side.
But what if your project is less like a skyscraper and more like creating a brand new dish from scratch? Well, that brings us to the Agile Revolution. Here, our analogy shifts from the architect to a chef in a bustling kitchen. A chef tastes the soup, adds a little salt, tastes it again, maybe adds some herbs. They adapt and adjust as they go. And you can see the two philosophies right here, side by side. Where waterfall is sequential, one step after another, Agile is iterative. It works in these small, rapid cycles. While waterfall is all about following that rigid plan, Agile is literally built for responding to change. The scope isn't fixed, it's flexible, and the design, it evolves over time. It is a completely fundamentally different mindset. This one line from the Agile Manifesto just perfectly captures its spirit. It's not that processes and tools aren't important. Of course they are, but it's saying that clear communication and real collaboration between people, that's valued more. It's a very human-centric way of building things. So, if Agile's a philosophy, the whole idea of being a chef, then Scrum is the specific recipe you follow. It's by far the most popular framework for putting those Agile ideas into action. It gives teams a really clear set of rules, roles, and events to manage their work in those short, iterative cycles we talked about. The starting point for any Scrum project is something called the product backlog. Just think of it as the master wish list for the entire project, everything you could ever want. But the absolute key here is that it's a living document. As the team learns more and gets feedback, this list is constantly being reprioritized to make sure they're always working on the most valuable thing next. Okay, so from that giant wish list, the team bites off a small, totally manageable chunk for their next work cycle, which is called a sprint. This little chunk becomes the sprint backlog. It's basically their pact, their promise. It's a clear, focused plan for the next couple of weeks that protects them from distractions and says, this is what we are committing to deliver, period. And here it is. This is the payoff. At the end of every single sprint, the team delivers an increment. Now, this is not a progress report or a PowerPoint slide. It is a real, working, tangible piece of the product that you can actually use. This is the engine that drives Agile. It allows you to get immediate feedback, and it ensures the team is delivering actual value every few weeks, not just promises of value down the road. So, we've got our two paths, right? the architect's path and the chef's path. But no matter which one you choose, some challenges are just universal. So let's look at the essential toolkit that every single project manager needs to handle those inevitable bumps in the road. This is such a critical mindset shift. You will never eliminate all risk from a project. It's just not possible. So the goal of a great project manager isn't to cross your fingers and hope for a risk-free journey. No, it's to anticipate risks, identify them early, and have a solid plan for them when they inevitably pop up. And believe me, risks come in all shapes and sizes. You've got your technical risks, like a brand new technology not working the way you thought it would. Then there are resource risks, like what if you run out of money or your star developer quits? And then you have external risks, the ones totally outside your control, like a key supplier going out of business. Let's zero in on one of the most infamous project killers out there, scope creep. This is what happens when all those little requests and, oh, just one more small thing additions slowly get added to the project until, bam, you're suddenly building something way bigger and more complicated than you ever planned for, but with no extra time or money. It is a silent, deadly killer of projects. Now, your weapon against scope creep is a simple but incredibly powerful change control process. Instead of just informal asks, every single change has to be formally proposed. Then, the team analyzes its true impact. What will this actually cost us in time, in money, in resources? Only then do the key stakeholders make a conscious decision. This transforms that casual, hey, can we just add, into a serious, is this addition worth the trade-off? It puts you back in control. Okay, so we've seen the two big philosophies, and we've talked about the universal challenges. Now for the final, and honestly, the most important part. How do you choose the right path for your project? And this, right here, is probably the most important thing to take away from all of this. Anyone who tells you that Agile is always better, or that Waterfall is always better, is just plain wrong. It is not a competition. The best method is the one that fits the reality of your project, especially how much you know versus how much you don't. So here's a simple guide. If your destination is fixed and the road ahead is clear and paved, choose Waterfall. It's efficient, it's predictable. But if you're exploring a brand new territory where the map is incomplete and you need to be able to react to what you find along the way, you've got to choose Agile. Its flexibility is its greatest strength. And that's really the question I want to leave you with. For your next project, just ask yourself that. Are you building a bridge or are you cooking a new dish? Because understanding the answer, knowing if you're the architect with a perfect blueprint or the chef tasting and adjusting the recipe, that is the first and most important step in finally taming the project beast.